What's up everyone, Z-Dub here, and thank you for stopping by and checking out my review of Dying Light Hellraid, released on PC, Xbox One, and the PlayStation 4. This is a DLC item for Dying Light, and it only requires the original Dying Light license to be able to purchase and play this. Now as of now, Dying Light is an older title, so this can be found at a discount typically. The actual cost of this piece of DLC is $10, which is not bad at all for what is being offered here. I actually didn't have the license to Dying Light, but this intrigued me so much that I purchased it to play this release, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how well this engine has held up. In no way does it feel dated one bit to me. Now I'm reviewing this from the lens of $10 for the DLC. It's a bit steep price for this if you factor in the base game into it, but if you can get a deal on it, it may be worth it to you. Now if this is your first time stopping by for one of my reviews, let me start by saying this. All of my game reviews are done from a critically honest perspective. I feel like you shouldn't have to force yourself or convince yourself to have fun with something. So if you're like me and you're looking for the best experiences out there, ones that are truly worthy of your time and money, you've come to the right place. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do, so you don't miss out on any future videos, and hit that button and bell and you'll be up to date with all my content. Now let's get into this. Dying Light Hellraid. Can Dying Light turn into a dungeon crawler? Is there enough content here for someone to consider this that doesn't even own Dying Light, or is this just for the Dying Light fanbase? Well, I have to say, I'm enjoying what Techland has released here. I didn't even own Dying Light. Somehow I missed that release and never wound up playing it. And I didn't realize how good that game is and how great this game engine actually is. I feel like I'm playing a new game, and nothing about it makes me feel like this is a dated release at all. I'm finding quite a lot of enjoyment with this. It's a straightforward, simplistic dungeon grinder, but they've packed in some secrets, a lot of weapons, crafting, leveling, and advancing. There's a decent amount to like here. It can be played co-op online or solo, but this game really will shine with friends, and I think can pack tons of replayability in if you find a group. Now I'm really having a fun time with this, as it has a nice loop to it and a decent level of difficulty combined with some really intense moments. To actually access this game, you have to go to the tower by the shop at the arcade machine. This was quite confusing to me, not being a Dying Light current player, and it frustrated me at first. As I said earlier, I'm new to Dying Light, so with there being no way to start this DLC from the main menu, I was very confused at first at what I needed to do to even fire this thing up. I actually had to hit Reddit to get some help. So if you're like me and you're new and you plan to pick this up, you gotta complete about an hour of the Dying Light prologue campaign to get far enough into it for it to even become available. That kind of frustrated me at first because I wanted to just jump in and play Hellraid, but on a positive note, I did get to spend some time with Dying Light, and now I'm pretty excited for Dying Light 2 whenever that drops. So on to the actual gameplay and loop. Once you got access to the DLC, you start out by jumping down into the dungeons and you hack and slash your way through the hordes of the undead. It's mainly comprised of just killing, salvaging, and looting until you try to find 3 mission items and 3 different levels as you progress. The whole atmosphere of the game feels really cool if you're interested in this theme, and the combat has a great weight to it as well. Now if you're familiar with Dying Light, I don't think there's going to be any surprise here for you. The environments and enemies are all well done, and they fully capture the dark dungeon mood. The enemies and mobs are varied and they can overwhelm you quick. Several times I was caught off guard and I got freaked out for a second. Now one thing I think that would have made this a bit better is that you seem to have to start over from scratch besides the items that are left over in your chest after each run. It'd be nice if you had the ability to equip yourself with any items you found for new runs and just reset your loadout every time. Not just items that happen to be in the storage. If items are equipped and you die, you lose them. Also, if you decide to stop anytime, you lose any items that were equipped. I'd like more of a Diablo approach here. I think it would add to the replayability quite a bit. Now as far as the graphics, this is an older game, so it should perform pretty well on some older hardware. The footage shown here is on its highest settings and it looks beautiful, and as I said earlier, this engine has really held up and it feels right at home with some of today's games. Now besides this portion of the DLC, the developers have promised more content coming in the future and plenty of post-release support. I really think this could have done really well as a standalone release and could have brought in even more of an audience. As it stands, I think mostly Dying Light players will be picking this up, and that's a shame because there's a lot to like here for people that don't have that title. And it's a tough ask for someone unfamiliar to purchase the original title and then the DLC for $10, because $10 really is the sweet spot for this release. And on to lasting appeal. The actual levels are not procedurally generated like Diablo or something similar, so it remains to be seen if playing these same maps over and over again will get boring. But regardless, it's fun to work your way through them, and I can see some people enjoying this simple loop nonetheless. Now the actual content, it's on the shorter side at about an hour to an hour and a half depending on playstyle. Some speedrunners have gone through it in about 25 to 30 minutes, but for $10, if you enjoy the replay loop and challenging higher difficulties, it can be worth it for you. Honestly, it could be worth it just to run through it a couple times. So in closing, is this game or DLC for you? Well, if you're already an owner of Dying Light and you enjoy it, and you like dungeon crawlers, you're probably going to dig this. So for my fun or not recommendation, this is a solid recommend for existing Dying Light owners looking to dungeon crawl. At $10, this will definitely fill the fun gauge for a bit, and it's a recommend for anyone looking to go on a simplistic solo or co-op dungeon grind. For anyone that does not have Dying Light, the cost of entry may be a bit steep, and it's unfortunate this wasn't released on its own for $10. But if you're interested in this type of co-op dungeon crawling, and you can find a deal on the original game that feels worth it for you, you may want to check this out. But be warned, it is on the shorter side, as I've said. So thanks for stopping by and watching, and if you enjoyed this and you're interested in honest reviews focusing on whether a game is purely fun or not, or whether a game will wow you, subscribe so you don't miss out on any future gaming content. Well, I gotta get back to slashing these hordes of the undead, so I'll see you next time. This is Z-Dub, out.